Muslims have been around for now a millennium and a half. Muslims have had a civilization not just in the Arab world, but it spread to parts of Europe, Asia, Africa, all over the world. And Muslims haven't just been in a position of preaching communities, they have been in positions of government. If this verse was interpreted the way the reader or the questioner is interpreting it classically, then we would constantly be killing non-believers wherever we found them. Is that history? No, not even when Muslims are in power. That's not history. So this question, first of all, begs, why are Muslims, when they were in a position of political power, when they had the power over their subjects, whether they were Hindus living under their rule, or they were Christians living under their rule, or Jews living under their rule? Actually, Jewish communities thrived under Muslim rule. Christian communities thrived under Muslim rule. Arab Christian communities are literally centuries old, and they have lived under the rule of Islam all that time, untouched, until recent acts of insane violence. But something Muslims prided themselves in, that they allowed for the flourishing of other non-believing communities within them. If this was genuinely the interpretation of the mainstream Islam, that kill non-Muslims wherever you find them, the time to be able to execute this ruling was when Muslims were in a position of power, and they never did. That's because that's not how it's ever been understood. The question then is, okay, well that's not how it's understood, but then how do you understand it? Fine, that's the wrong way to get it. What's the right way to get it then? The original context is that of the Prophet living in Mecca. He lives in the city. He invites people to a religion completely non-violent. As a matter of fact, there's a policy of those who believe should not retaliate. The Quran records the statement, "Kufu aydiyakum." We think of non-violent resistance. When we think of Gandhi, we think of Tiananmen Square. We think of like these modern non-violent movements. The first non-violent movement historically is the Prophet's life, the Meccan life. The policy was, don't fight back no matter what they do. Just call them to this call. That's it. Just stand by your beliefs. So they're standing for a decade by these beliefs, and they're being persecuted first verbally, psychologically, and then eventually even physically. Then these people who are citizens of that city are expelled from that city. Their properties are usurped. Some family members are even killed, and they literally have to escape their own hometown. They are now in a new city in Medina. 6 months go by in Medina, and now there's the first physical clash between those who have been expelled from their own homeland and those who expelled them from that homeland. The first clash takes place, the first battle in the Prophet's life. Okay? In this battle, now you're about to meet the enemy on the battlefield. There are 300 on the one hand, the Muslims, and there are 1,000 of those who have committed the first acts of aggression. They've drawn first blood. This is the context. They've drawn first blood. Muslims did not engage in aggression, they did. Now, when you're in the battlefield, what does the general say to the soldiers? Listen, be a little nice to the enemy. Don't destroy them all, just kind of take it easy. Or does the general say, take him out? We're here to take out the enemy. What kind of talk does a general give to a soldier right before they're about to enter the battlefield? Have you ever seen any movie where battles happen? This conversation from God happens, this revelation happens right before they're entering battle. It's completely uncompromising. Why? Because it's in the scene of a battle. To think that this is how Muslims think all the time is insanity. And to think that's what God wants all the time is disingenuous to the context of the Quran. It's not genuine, it's not authentic. Okay?
So this is restricted specifically to times of war.
And you're in the battlefield. And you're in the battlefield. That's important, because in times of war, there are places that the war is not going on. You're in a civilian neighborhood. You can't apply this. This is in the battlefield. Wherever you may find them now, you take them out. You go after the enemy. And this, by the way, would not just be something the Muslims would say. The people on the other side, imagine there are two nations, both non-Muslims. Guess what they're both going to be told? The generals are going to tell both the same exact thing. Kill the enemy. Wherever you find, this is the kind of talk. And this was done actually, interestingly enough, I'll add one more thing. The Muslims at the time, 300 I told you, 300 some.
Right.
Not all of them had swords. Actually, there were like maybe 10 or 12 swords. Not all of them had horses, maybe like 8 or 9 horses. Not all of them had shields. Most of them didn't even have military training. And they're taking on an army, a well-equipped army, that has much more battle experience. So who's obviously thinking they're going to get killed? The Muslims. And who's obviously thinking they're going to destroy the enemy? The Meccans. And at that point, God basically says, don't spare any of them. As if to say, you guys have such a huge advantage over them, don't even worry about it. The reason this language was used was to rally the few believers that were there, that yes, God is on your side, He will help you. That is the original context. We're not shy to